Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Michael J, and I'm finally back with another video. Now, to cut to the chase, let's talk about Cartoon Network. I loved Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network was a huge part of my childhood growing up. Actually, no, scratch that. It was my childhood. I always remember just coming home from school and going straight to my television screen to turn on my absolute favorite channel. Since 1992, the channel has been a huge part of children's programming. And while they have produced some shows that have aged terribly over time, but even with that, they have produced tons of great shows that have become timeless classics. It didn't really matter which decade or which era you were born in. Cartoon Network always had something great to offer because their shows were so unique and so creative. Now, as always, before I start this list, here are some honorable mentions. Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Ben 10, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Dexter's Laboratory, Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated, and Courage the Cowardly Dog. So without further ado, I'm your boy Michael J, and I present to you the 10 best Cartoon Network shows of all time. Starting at number 10, The Amazing World of Gumball. Now, The Amazing World of Gumball was a show that I always thought was very weird, but I feel like that is what made it so great, was the weirdness. It was so creatively distinct because the animation is unlike anything I've ever seen before in a cartoon show. I really loved how it superbly combined all types of different animation styles by using CGI, 3D, and 2D animation in a live-action background. The show had brilliant writing, the comedy was spot on, and all the main characters have their own different personalities. You have Gumball, the fun-loving one, Darwin, the gullible one, Anais, the smart one, their mother Nicole, who's the hot-headed one, and even their father Richard, who's the dumb one.
Muffin top. It's only funny when it's someone else's body.
I also just really love how the show had such a great charm to it and how it didn't feel so pandering at all. And for that is why I think The Amazing World of Gumball definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Coming at number 9, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. After the Star Wars prequel served to be a huge disappointment to Star Wars fans, the Clone Wars TV show was definitely a huge welcoming addition to the expanded universe of Star Wars. Filled with plenty of action and interesting characters, both old and new, including the likes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and his new Padawan Ahsoka Tano, who would become one of the most beloved Star Wars characters for years to come. It was probably the best Star Wars content you will ever see up on the same level as the movies because it pretty much tells all the events of what happened between Star Wars: Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. After watching all 7 seasons, it really increased my views on the Star Wars prequels, especially Revenge of the Sith. The show had exceptional story arcs, cutting-edge 3D animation, and you had beautiful character development as well. And for any of y'all who haven't checked out the Clone Wars yet, you damn well should because it's a brilliant show. Coming at number 8, Powerpuff Girls. Now, this is a show that really brings back great memories from my childhood because I remember watching this all the time as a toddler. The Powerpuff Girls proved that you can make a show that doesn't just appeal to one specific gender because even boys could enjoy it as well. The way how it blended action, comedy, and drama was just absolutely incredible. All the characters just had so much personality, especially the villains because they were like the biggest standouts of the entire show. You have a supernatural demon named Him, a Gorgon named Sedusa, an annoying little girl and princess. You even had the Rowdy Rough Boys who pretty much are like the male versions to the Powerpuff Girls, and my absolute favorite of them all, Mojo Jojo.
Hey, you kids! Get out of my moat! It is not made to be played in!
And for those of y'all who haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you go watch it because it'll definitely be worth your time. And while you're at it, please do me a favor and skip the reboot because it's just absolutely horrendous. Coming at number 7, Codename Kids Next Door. Now, this was a Cartoon Network show that I adored back in grade school. I loved this show so much to the point where I myself wanted to be a Kids Next Door. Codename Kids Next Door took what it meant to be a kid to like a whole new level. It was all about a worldwide organization called Kids Next Door who would fight evil adults and evil teenagers for their own independence, like vegetables, homework, and even adult tyranny as well. The result of this was an imaginative world that appeals to children of all ages. The action was entertaining and the plots were original that pays homage to its sources. And while the main characters do seem a bit stereotypical at first, but eventually they grow into 3-dimensional beings that become very endearing. Coming at number 6, Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack has to be one of the most artistically creative cartoon shows that I have ever seen. What made this different from other Cartoon Network shows is that it had a much more darker tone to it. I always love it when cartoon shows always have different tones and tries to be something unique than just follow a generic formula, and Samurai Jack definitely was one of them.
Shinobi, Warrior of the Night.
While the pacing did seem a bit off in most episodes, but other than that, Samurai Jack was such an awesome show that definitely lived up to the hype, so I highly recommend y'all go check it out right now.
You're green? You can fly? No, jump good. Watch out!
Coming at number 5, Steven Universe. Now, I'll never forget the first time when Steven Universe first aired on Cartoon Network back in like the spring of 2013, and it was something that really caught me off guard. I remember saying to myself, yeah, this show's gonna suck. Like, I expected it to be a colossal failure. I had no interest in it, no fucks to give about it. But then at the same time, I said to myself, I'll probably give it a chance. So after I watched all the episodes of season 1, I was proven so wrong. Like, I was dead wrong, because Steven Universe has to be one of the most beautifully crafted shows that I have ever seen in my life. The show makes you smile, makes you laugh, makes you mad, makes you sad, makes you cry. The fact that a show like this can make you feel all of that, that's definitely saying something. All of the main characters are wonderful, and they are so well written because of how they're very relatable. And plus, the songs are so amazing because of the way how they go so well with each episode it's featured in. Well, I wasn't infatuated with it like most people were, but there's no denying that Steven Universe was just such a brilliant show. Coming at number 4, Adventure Time. Adventure Time was a show that was originally supposed to air on Nickelodeon, but the channel declined it, which was a huge colossal mistake on their part. While it served to be a huge loss for Nickelodeon, it would be a big win for Cartoon Network. It was something that Cartoon Network desperately needed because it came at a time when the channel really started losing touch with its roots because they started airing live action shows like Destroy Build Destroy, which is something that people had no interest in, and due to that, the channel's ratings were slowly declining. But then Adventure Time came along and it really blew everybody away, including myself. Adventure Time was the perfect mix of both fantasy and creativity. The stories were so imaginative to the point where you couldn't help but be intrigued with the show. The characters were so beautifully written, and every episode would take place on various different settings. It would take place on Mars, a kingdom made of candy, an underground city, a forest, an alternate dimension, and you even had an episode that even takes place on Hell, and I'm not even joking when I say this.
How did you die?
Because we're awesome?
Coming at number 3, Regular Show. Now, this was a show that really resonated with me throughout my time in middle school and high school. While it may have been called Regular Show, it was anything but regular. Along with Adventure Time, this was one of the shows that really helped restore my faith in Cartoon Network. This was a show that should have been a failure on paper, but you can tell how the creator J.G. Quintel was bringing something so odd and so bizarre that we've never really seen before on a cartoon show. The way how Regular Show brilliantly used mild adult humor in adult situations to cater to the older audience, while also having a silly childlike humor to cater to the younger audience as well, was just absolutely magnificent. The show had great story arcs, great character development, memorable quotes, and the jokes were very funny, even on the episodes that were bad. But it was much more than a comedy, because even with that, they also had episodes that were very relatable and also had great messages that really stick with you. Coming at number 2, Ed, and Eddy. Now, this was a Cartoon Network show that 2 of my sisters absolutely loved. Although they would usually watch shows on the Disney Channel or Nickelodeon, but if there's one Cartoon Network show they would always go back and watch, it was definitely Ed, and Eddy. Now, this has to be Nickelodeon's longest running show due to the fact that it lasted for 10 long years from 1999 to 2009. Ed, and Eddy was definitely Cartoon Network's most funniest show because the comedy was just like the best aspect of the entire show. And much like the Amazing World of Gumball, all of the characters have their own unique personalities. You had Ed, the dumb one, Double D, the smart one, and Eddy, the greedy cheapskate. You also had the neighborhood kids like Kevin, the mean one, Naz, the pretty one, Johnny, the weird one, Sarah, the spoiled brat, and you also had Rolf, who was just something else.
You mock Rolf yet again? With a potted shrub of ridicule?
The what?
For the honor of Rolf's great nano, I challenge you to a duel!
And coming at number 1, Teen Titans. Yes, y'all, yes, I'm talking about the original Teen Titans from the 2000s, not Teen Titans Go. Fuck that garbage-ass piece of shit.
Yo, creeps, you wanna be creepy? Creep on this. Creeping like a creeper, creeping like a creeper.
But anyways, to me, Teen Titans was just a damn near perfect show. I remember how I was so obsessed with it because I genuinely loved everything about it. The show had great animation, great characters who are very memorable, great storytelling, great villains. The action was amazing, and the jokes always made me laugh because they felt genuinely funny, especially Beast Boy. He was my absolute favorite of them all.
Dudes, check it out. Brain freeze.
But apart from the action and the laughs, Teen Titans always had a great way of managing to tackle serious situations and also had a great way of handling character development like no other animated series could. The more the teammates learned about each other, they don't just become better friends for it, they also become a better team as well. And while sure, some of the aspects of the show did feel a little too cheesy at times, but I feel like that was done intentionally because that's what made it so exquisite. Although it really broke my heart that Teen Titans got canceled after 5 seasons when it was supposed to go on for 6, especially the way how the show ended in probably the most disappointing way possible. But hey, even with that, we should appreciate the fact that the show had a very great run, and it definitely deserved all the praise it got. So for that is why I think Teen Titans is the greatest Cartoon Network show of all time.
Teen Titans.
And that's the list. So what do y'all think? Do you guys massively disagree? What's your favorite Cartoon Network show of all time? Feel free to comment down below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for weekly videos. I'm your boy Micah J, and peace.